Instagram Lives are honestly one of the best and kind of surprising ways that I've been able to create a stronger connection with my audience on Instagram. And so I really wanted to give you guys a breakdown of really my strategy with lives, exactly how to prepare and to execute lives, and why I think they can be so impactful for someone wanting to grow on Instagram. So let's just go ahead and jump into all of that. So the first thing I want to cover is why should you do Instagram Lives? And so, like I already mentioned, it's just such a unique way to connect with your audience. It's something that feels a little bit more off the cuff. It feels a little bit more real. And I found some of my highest interaction has been through Instagram Lives, whether it's, people jumping on and commenting while I'm live, or whether it's even just after I'm done with a live, like people watching the replay. And even after a live, I have at least a few DMs each time from things I talked about in the live, things I mentioned, and people following up or via DMs and wanting to chat more about that. So it's just been a really cool way to really connect with the people who follow me and to build that connection. So if you are in a phase of your brand, business, Instagram growth journey where you're trying to figure out, maybe you've gained new followers and you're trying to figure out how to get them more involved in your brand, that's where lives can be a really, really cool way to do that. And I also think it's a really nice way to incorporate more spontaneous content, more like Q&A and relaxed content into your marketing plan on Instagram, because when it comes to different types of Instagram content, a lot of it can feel so planned, right? Like we're planning out and pre-filming Instagram reels or posts and things like that. And so lives are just, again, a really great way to create something that's a little bit more off the cuff and doesn't have to be completely perfect. And that's kind of the whole point of it. And I think why a lot of people love that from people they follow. So if doing an Instagram live is something you're like, okay, I could see the benefit of that, and that's a goal that I have, is to create that stronger connection with my audience, let's talk about exactly how to prepare for a live and the best tips for that. So the first one is you can either just spontaneously go live when it comes to scheduling it out. It's not something you have to schedule or even announce. You could just literally go live and see what happens. But I will say that if you have a smaller audience, scheduling it out ahead of time might be a really good idea. You can either, announce it in your Instagram stories, in a post, and you can actually create an Instagram post that you can schedule a live within an Instagram post if you do that. So that's a really cool option if you're wanting to schedule it out a little bit more, especially if you want to do it around a themed Q&A or something like that. Scheduling it out can be a really great way for your audience to make sure they don't miss it. A fun way to get your audience involved in that, when you're going to schedule it and things like that, is in your stories. You could even do a poll on, maybe give them 2 or 3 different times that you might want to go live, and let your audience decide when you can go live. And it helps to build up almost the buzz around you to going live on your account, and hopefully having more people show up and engaging with your live. And leading up to the live and when you're preparing for it, something that can be really helpful, especially if you get a little bit nervous thinking about being live on camera, is to simply write out a few bullet points of things you want to talk about, or maybe a few questions that you want to go over and answer, especially, as a backup, just in case maybe you don't have a ton of people show up live and a lot of them catch the replay. That way you have some things to fall back on, some things that you can talk about. And I also just want to throw in a bonus tip right here. So something that can be really, really helpful is to make it a themed live or a themed Q&A. So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but this can also be really helpful if you're just starting to try out lives. Instead of just doing a general, hey, I'm just going to go live and we're just going to talk, or just doing a general Q&A, maybe instead of just having a Q&A box, you could do a Q&A around, something within your brand. So maybe you're a home decor account, do a Q&A around how to decorate your living room, or maybe, for something, maybe for you are you help others with social media, maybe make it a Instagram specific Q&A instead of just a general Q&A, right? I think when you give people a topic and kind of get them thinking and things to think about, it really helps to, just spur that engagement, spur that connection, spur them actually engaging back with you and showing up live and commenting on the live. So I think that can be something that can be really, really helpful and just what I've seen work really well in the lives that I have done. When it comes to actually executing the live, I really want to encourage you that, it's not a piece of content that needs to be perfect. No one expects it to be perfectly edited, for you to say things perfectly, and I think that's what makes lives kind of fun to watch and to interact with, right? Because it's a real person and you get to see them and hear their voice and, hear the way that they actually talk when it's not completely perfected, and that they can redo it over and over like you could on Instagram stories. So I really want to encourage you, just act like you're chatting with a friend, talk like you normally would, talk in your brand voice, right? Don't overthink it too much. And again, it can feel a little bit more off the cuff. It's not something that needs to be, you need to be totally perfected and know exactly what you're talking about all the time, or like you're never going to stumble over your words, because I certainly do when I've done Instagram lives. And so yeah, I just want to give you that permission that it doesn't need to be perfect. It's totally okay. And in fact, I think that's what makes lives better and why people love them so much. But as you're doing the live, a couple of things that I think are important to keep in mind is, one, make sure you're interacting with the comments that come in. This can be hard to do. I found it can be a little hard when there's like a ton of comments coming in to feel like you can interact with all of them, but really encourage that conversation with your audience members. Tell them to say hey in the comments when they're popping on, maybe comment with where they're from, comment with a question that they have around that theme that you came up with, and interact back with the comments. Whenever you say something and someone asks a follow-up question, make sure that you're interacting back and that you're responding to that. And then another thing that is really helpful to know is that you can post the live as a replay later. So if people are asking about a replay, yes, you have the ability to do that, and you can actually do it. I think it's up to like 30 days after you create the live. So it's not something like you have to post right away. Once you are done with a live, you can just tap out of it. You can even save it to your camera roll just as like a backup. I personally like doing that just to make sure that I have it. And then once I have done that, I can go back later and, maybe when I'm scheduling out my Instagram content again, I can include it in my upcoming content in the next few weeks and not feel pressure to repost it right away. But I will say, if you don't post it right away, what I have found with my audience is I do have a couple of people who usually DM me and say, hey, I noticed you were live earlier. Are you going to post the replay soon? So getting it up as soon as possible can be really helpful for that. And just like when that hype is still higher, that more people are going to watch the replay if you post it sooner rather than later. But there's also not any pressure that you have to like post it right away. Okay, so I hope you guys found this video really helpful. I also want to invite you into our free Instagram Reels class. If you've never watched it before, it's all about how to grow your brand and to grow your reach, followers, and customers with Instagram Reels. So we'll have that link right below this video if you want to join that. And I also wanted to mention, I feel like I don't mention this enough in my YouTube videos, but we have a free Facebook community for those who are trying to grow with Instagram Reels called Reels Growth. So if you want to join that and you want to connect with others who are also watching these YouTube videos and also trying to grow on Instagram using Reels, be sure to join that group, and we pop in there and we answer questions too, and you can interact with us. So just a fun way to connect. So we'll have a link to that Facebook community right below this video as well if you are interested. And as always, hit like, subscribe, all of those things. Truly appreciate you guys so much when you do that, and I will see you in next week's video. Bye guys.